New Hampshire's hiking trails are built differently. They're built for pain, chest-thumping workouts, and of course, extremely epic payoffs. The White Mountains are the alphas of this. Hey, what's up? My name is Mike. In 2023, myself, my wife, and my dog section hiked 1,225 miles-ish of the AT, the longest footpath in the world, and we spent 13 weeks day hiking, working, and van camping on the Appalachian Trail as we moved up the trail slowly from Georgia to Maine. I'm doing a video covering each section we hiked, and in this article, we cover a section we hiked in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. If heading northbound on the AT, Franconia Notch is located at mile marker 1825.1 on the 2023 AT, and PINKHAM Notch is at mile marker 1878.8. This 53.7 mile stretch is what we covered in 5 days. You're going to gain 18,700 feet of ascent and have 18,100 feet in descent. White Mountain Appalachian Trail section hike need to knows. This stretch was the physically hardest section of the AT I did. I never hiked ascents and descents outside of other day hikes in New Hampshire that were quite this steep. Be forewarned if you aren't used to hiking in the White Mountains. Much of the Appalachian Trail in this section has different names, Crawford Path, for instance, but the white blazes will still be your guide on the trail, even if the signs say Crawford Path instead of Appalachian Trail. The White Mountain AMC huts are available for purchase to backpack throughout this stretch, but also sleep on a bed. Or if you're a thru hiker, they typically allow 2 work for stays per night per hut to help out with chores and help clean dishes, stuff like that. You got to check in, and typically though after 4 or 5 p.m. there to see if there's a spot, and you'll be sleeping on the floor. I stayed at the Galehead Hut and loved the experience. It's the Phantom Ranch of the East. We stayed in Conway, New Hampshire, and Interval, New Hampshire, and in the huts to complete this section of the trail. The stretch is remote, but water sources are typically easy to find. The Mount Washington summit gets a bad rap, I think, at times by the hiking community. The wilderness to me is not just for hikers who can make it to the top, in my opinion, and to share it with people who drive or take the tramway was fun for me. There were tons of other summits in the Whites you can have all to yourself. Trust me. Make sure you get a reservation in advance at a White Mountain hut in the summer weekends if you're wanting to guarantee a stay at one. Bring your trekking poles. I would have cried without mine, especially on Garfield Ridge. And your mileage is going to be slower in the White Mountains than your normal pace unless you live in Nepal or New Hampshire. I can almost guarantee it. Plan accordingly. Mount Washington has the worst weather in the world and is the deadliest small mountain on Earth. Check the weather reports and be prepared. I can't emphasize that enough. A couple other memorable fun facts. We met 2 hikers attempting to do 9 4,000-foot summits in 2 days, and one doing a trail run of all of them in 1 day. I actually skipped Mount Washington section on my original hike. We were supposed to meet my wife's parents in Acadia National Park in Maine after the hike, and due to a hurricane, we wound up coming back to this area, and the weather was still good in mid-September, so I added this section on. Mount Washington was technically my final day on the trail. The Galehead Hut is the only all-female crew in the White Mountains, and I was honored to stay with them. And the Garfield Ridge and Crawford Path stretches to the Garfield and Washington summits were the hardest sections of the entire trail outside of the boulder push up Katahdin, which is only a mile. This was also, though, the most picturesque section of the trail that we hiked. It reminded me of the big mountains of Colorado, Washington, and California in terms of the views, the slopes, the granite, and more. If there was one section of the AT I would love for every hiker, backpacker, outdoor lover to enjoy for themselves, it would be this one. It also happens to be the most difficult and taxing on the physical body, but the way it nourishes your soul and mind will offset it. From the huts to the massive ascents to the sweeping views to the history of a place with the highest winds ever recorded on Earth, it's a special and wild place. From Washington to Lincoln to Twin to Galehead to Garfield to Jackson to Webster, I had more summits and sore knees than I could imagine. The AT is known for painful ascents and descents and not as good of payoff views as the PCT or the CT. The payoff views in the Whites, though, are as good as the other scenic trails. You will still get the painful steep climbs, though. The White Mountains, they're dangerous, they're beautiful. It's an experience I'll never forget, and this was probably my favorite 5-day stretch on the entire 13-week hike we did. It was stunning and life-changing. I hope to visit them again in my life. Thanks for watching. Happy trails to you. When you're planning a through section or day hike, or you're a Trail Town local, angel, or just someone wanting to learn more about the AT, I hope it gives you what you need. Leave no trace, pack your 10 essentials, and until next time, happy trails. Mike R. signing off from the White Mountains in New Hampshire.